Prakaranena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhistam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Supadantikam. Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Utavata Kamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha. Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sagunaragunatam Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parjana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Padan Saguna Lalita Sri Vishakhavitanscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namastude Taptakanchana Gaurange Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanusute Devi Pranamami Haripriya Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah Jaya Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaur Bhaktavinda. So if I can also request the devotees to chant 3 times the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, just to honor and offer our praise to His Holiness Gopal Krishna Maharaj. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. His Holiness Gopal Krishna Maharaj ki jai. So once again, thank you for joining, and we'll begin with our scheduled activities for the discussion. So we wanted to start off by giving some time for the devotees to ask any questions, clarifications, any realizations that you have. So this is your time. Over to you.
Okay, I see a lot of hands raised, so I'm going to call out the names. Give me 1 second. Okay, Prisha Mataji, please go ahead.
Hello, thank you. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yes, thank you so much. I have 2 quick questions. I found the idea of surrender very beautiful. Surrender, coming back full circle from a place of fearfulness to a place of enlightenment. My question is, how is enlightenment defined in Bhagavad Gita, and is that a permanent state? And my second question is, it talks about soul being eternal. So are there new souls that are coming, or are there all old souls? I'm asking this because, there are more than 1 billion people on the earth right now. And I'm just wondering, where are all these souls coming from? I'm assuming, there weren't billion people like years and years before. So I I apologize if these are stupid questions, but yeah, thank you.
Thank you. No, they're wonderful questions. So what is enlightenment in Bhagavad Gita? Krishna takes us through stages of enlightenment. The ultimate enlightenment, which is manifested in the last verse, last chapter, 1866, is enlightenment with respect to one's relationship to Krishna. When one understands that Krishna is supreme, then one surrenders completely, right? That's the ultimate state of enlightenment. And then he, of course, takes us through stages of enlightenment. It begins with understanding you have a duty. Then it goes to the stage of understanding that you're not the body but the soul. Then it goes to understanding that the soul is has an accompanying partner, the super soul. then it goes to understanding that the super soul is actually an expansion of the Supreme Personality, right? And then it goes to the understanding that we have an eternal relationship. So depending on one's own advancement on the spiritual path, one has different levels of enlightenment. Srila Prabhupada very mercifully, right from the beginning, takes us to the last stage of enlightenment. So if you look at most of the purpose from Srila Prabhupada, he is always taking us again and again the lotus feet of Krishna, because the intermediate stages of enlightenment are, firstly, they're difficult in the current day and age. And the second is, with the mercy of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, we have access to the final stage of enlightenment. So Prabhupada and the Acharyas, they take us to that stage. In terms of the soul, it's said that there are three things that are eternal and fixed. There is Krishna, there is the souls, and there is the Vedas. They all manifest at the same time, which is a theoretical concept, because if they're eternal, there's no point that they actually manifest. But they are co-eternal. The understanding is that so once somebody asked Prabhupada this question, that they were dinosaurs and disappeared, what happened to the souls of dinosaurs? And the question that you're asking, that the population is increasing. So we are not the only. So we are not the only place of existence, right? In the second chapter, it said the soul is Sarvgatha, that it exists everywhere. So there are many planets in this universe where there are living entities. There are many universes within the material creation where there are living entities. And there's a constant back and forth that's going on. There is also the back and forth between different life forms, from plant to animal, and animal to human, and human to life, and human to plant and animal, based on one's karma. So we see it sometimes the population increasing, decreasing, certain species appearing, disappearing. It's just in the larger scheme of things, the transmigration of the soul.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Shardi Mataji, Sushma Mataji.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Thank you for the opportunity for asking the question, Prabhuji. I wanted to ask you that, in this chapter, we learned that what is duty, what is the importance of doing one's duty, and we learned about different types of swadharma. I'm a little confused because we also learned that how doing one's duty we can elevate to a spiritual understanding, liberation. But sometimes and how Krishna encourages Arjuna to perform his duty. However, like sometimes we see in the lives of some elevated personalities, even like Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. In the purport of 2.15, it is said that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu took sannyas at 25, leaving behind his household responsibilities, his wife. And I know he joined this path of sannyas for his higher duty, for higher purpose in life. But and similarly, Lord Buddha also accepted sannyas, and he also left behind his duties as a king to pursue higher purpose. And here we are also learning that doing one's duty we can achieve this liberation. Then Prabhuji, why is it necessary, or why do we see in the life of elevated souls that they are taking this path? And so if you could please and also sometimes, I don't know if you learned, in India there was a program, and a lot of parents, they complain about why people are taking this path of brahmachari and sannyas, leaving their parents alone. So if it can be done through our normal duties, then why it is necessary to go that path? That is my question, Prabhuji.
Thank you, Mataji. I think there are two ways to look at it. So one of the messages that we get in Bhagavad Gita is that of gradual elevation. that from Karm Kand to Nishkam Karm, from Nishkam Karm to Gyan and Astang and Bhakti. And that is fueled by strict adherence to one's duties, because the process is that of purification, gradual purification. So when Krishna emphasizes the importance of doing one's prescribed duties, that is essentially the foundation, the cornerstone of making advancement. Because if one is not doing the prescribed duties, they're in the stage of vikarma, which means they're doing sinful activities, right? And basically heading to hellish manners. And there is also the direct path of bhakti, which is not predicated on anything. So the gradual path of elevation is dependent. It draws its purification from the performance of prescribed duty. Bhakti does not. Bhakti is independent. So those who are following the path of bhakti, they may follow the path of prescribed duties, or they may not follow. Srila Prabhupada talked about it towards in terms of earlier on when ISKCON was being established. Most of his disciples were very young in age. They were all in the 20s, and he was giving them sannyas. And most of them were not qualified to take sannyas. But Prabhupada was giving them from the perspective of bhakti, that they may not have gone through the people, they didn't even have a notion of what is prescribed duties and what is not. But the purificatory effect of bhakti was strong enough to compensate for that. And as you were mentioning, this exactly the same thing was the case of Mahaprabhu, that he was bestowing bhakti. Of course, he was Krishna, so he was not bound by anything, but he was also setting an example. Because he was bestowing bhakti, under the rules of sannyas, you cannot take, if your wife is young, like Prabhupada took sannyas at the right time. Like his son had grown old. He was capable of taking care of the wife. Prabhupada had done all his household duties. So he was ready to take sannyas. But he was giving sannyas to people who had, very few of them were really qualified to take sannyas. And then he said that I'm just relying on the mercy of Krishna. What does it mean for us? That we may not have that protection of being advanced in bhakti. So better for us to do both, to perform prescribed duties while executing devotional service. Right? Prabhupada describes it later on as Devi Varnashram, that one goes to work, takes care of the family, but they do it in a way that they increase their service to Krishna. Like you get some money, you donate it to the temple, you have a family, you try to make your family Krishna conscious, you have a house, you try to invite devotees there, offer prasadam to them. So you're still following your prescribed duties, but you're essentially dovetailing it into the process of bhakti. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Please forgive me if it was an inappropriate, Prabhuji. Sorry.
No. Perhaps all questions are good questions.
Shri Padma Mataji. You're on mute.
Yeah.
Yes. Thank you so much for the videos. So the absolute truth is realized in three aspects. So the Brahman is like the sunshine, the sun ray, and Paramatma is the localized aspect, which is the super soul in our heart, and Bhagwan is Lord Krishna. But I'm finding difficult in an example of what Brahman is. Like if I had to put a picture, like what is Brahman?
Thank you, and I think you're not alone. Brahman is a fairly abstract and difficult concept, which is why Prabhupada uses several analogies to explain, because it's something that is impersonal, so you can't put your arms around it. one of the analogies that probably makes most sense to me is Prabhupada giving this notion of there is a king, and the king is a person, and that is Bhagwan. And then everything in the kingdom is being done under the supervision of the king, under the authority of the king. So whether a criminal is being arrested and punished, or a person is being rewarded, or the work is being done, Prabhupada says, they say by the order of the king, it's being done. So everybody is experiencing the presence of the king. The king is personally not there, but his influence in terms of authority is being experienced over the entire kingdom. Right? So that's the way of understanding Bhagwan. Prabhupada also uses the example of the sun and the sun rays, that the sun rays originate from the sun, and they're all pervasive, they're everywhere. But you can't put your arms around it and say, okay, I have two sun rays in my hand, but you can experience it. So what does it mean in a practical perspective? Brahman is essentially Krishna's influence everywhere. By Krishna's influence, there is order. By Krishna's influence, there is sentience. By Krishna's influence, like say the wind blows, the sun rises, and that is the impersonal aspect of Krishna. That is Brahma.
Thank you, Prabhu.
Thank you.
Prabhuji, we are 16 minutes past. Is it okay to take one last question?
Sure.
Okay, Naval Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, Dandavat Pranam. Prabhu, in text 7, Arjun says that I am a soul surrendered unto you. So he has surrendered at that point of time. And in 2.9, again, Sanjay explains that Arjun is very dejected, and he sits down and he says that Govinda, I shall not fight. So once he has surrendered, then how is he like taking a decision not to fight after that?
A good question, Prabhu. So it relates to the point I made in the lecture also, that you see that the Bhagavad Gita goes in an arc, that in 2.7 Arjuna surrenders, and then 1866 Krishna says the same thing to Arjuna, that you surrender unto me. And the difference between the two is that in 2.7 Arjuna is surrendering out of dejection and fear. He doesn't know what to do, right? So he's surrendering in a mode of ignorance. Karpanya dosha pata svabhava, right? So karpanya, that I'm inflicted by this dosh of miserly weakness. But nevertheless, he's surrendering. There's a glory in that. But it's like a person is completely bewildered. What do I do? What do I not do? And says, I'm surrendered to you. And then in 1866, Arjuna is surrendering out of enlightenment. That now I know exactly what you want me to do. I'm a soul surrendered unto you, and I'll follow your instructions. Right? So that's the difference between the two.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so let me go through. I have a few questions to devotees, and calling out in no particular order. So this is a question for Sandhya. Do you want to share what is the root of Arjun's doubts?
Oh, wow. Okay. So as I see it, the root of Arjun's doubts is being faced with all the loved ones, all the respected ones, and all the violence that is going to come about. And he can't, in that moment, reconcile how that can possibly be consistent with any dharma that he has. And he is just overcome by the fact that, sorry, that's it, that he can't reconcile.
Thank you. Excellent.
Yeah.
Excellent. Thank you. and to some extent there is probably and of course the doubts are kind of nuanced. They're layered on one another. And Sandhya, what you said is absolutely correct. There is another layer of below it, which is considered to be the root of Arjun's doubts. Let's see. Kalpana Mataji, would you like to try? Or let's see. Let's see. Atasi Mataji, would you like to try?
Hare Krishna Prabhu. The question is, Arjuna was confused about. Can you please repeat question one more time, Prabhuji?
So I was asking that what is the root of Arjun's doubts?
Okay, so the roots of Arjun's doubts are like he was thinking that how it's going to be justice to fight against his elderly family members and his friends, relatives.
Okay,
And
thank you. So all good answers. Later on in the second chapter, so Arjun expresses all these doubts. In the second chapter, he reveals that the root of his doubt is that he does not know. And that manifests in so many ways. Like, should I kill or not kill? Is it sinful to kill my grandfather and my guru? Will I go to heaven or hell? So it was manifesting in different ways. There are four essential doubts that manifest in the first chapter. And in the second chapter, the root of the four doubts is mentioned, which is that, Arjun says, I do not know what to do, whether I should fight in the battlefield or I should stand in the battlefield and let them kill me. Right. So, which is a segment of Bhagavad Gita. Bhagavad Gita helps us to know. And, and it is essentially addressing our doubts at a very fundamental causal level. Okay. Next question is Bhavin Prabhu. If you can, in the in the 12th verse, which is a famous verse, the identity of the soul is exclusively established. And could you share some of the attributes of the souls established in that verse?
In the first verse, Prabhu, you said?
In the 12th, 2:12, Prabhu. So this is the verse that everybody should. Natvoyam jatunashram natam nivejanadipa. Right, this is a verse everybody should remember.
So the one of the most prime qualities of the spirit soul that is mentioned here, that it is ever existing. It is not that it came into existence at a time and it will lose its identity in the future. Krishna says that the spirit soul as well as the super soul Krishna, they both were existing all the time.
Thank you. So that was one of the yeah. So the eternality of the soul is established, that the soul never was a time it did not exist, nor will a time that it will not exist in the future, right? So when something is existing in the past, present, and future, it's eternal. And there's a second quality of the soul that is also established. Pyali, will you try?
Sorry, Prabhu?
There's a second quality of the soul that's also established in 212. So one quality was the eternality of the soul,
And it
and
cannot be destroyed, ever destroyed. That's the other one.
which is again a symptom of eternality. Like if it cannot be destroyed, it's by implicit eternal. Another important quality
So
that's
in specifically in text 12, there was never a time that it did not exist. So it is like, in the past also existed, and in the future also it will continue to exist. So that is what I see in text 12 specifically, if that's
Well,
what you're.
right. So implicit in this, so you're right. That's the quality that's being explained. Implicit in this is the individuality of the soul. So two qualities that are explained, given there, is that the soul is eternal and individual. And when you combine it, what you get is that the soul is eternally individual. So there was never a time when the soul that is manifesting my body or your body or other's body did not exist or will not exist. Right. So it is eternal and it is individual. So thank you for that. One more question, and then we'll move on to the group presentations. So Krishna goes to great lengths to show that the soul is eternal, cannot be killed by weapon or this and that. And then a person reading the Bhagavad Gita says, fine, the soul is eternal, so let me go and kill a few people, because in any way the soul never dies. And why should I be punished for something that is not actually happening? How would you address such a person's proposition that I can kill because there is actually no killing? Jatasya dhrum mrityu dhrum mitasya cha, that Krishna says that the body can never be saved and the soul can never be killed. Right. So essentially, there should be no sin in killing. Let's see. Hetal Mataji, would you like to try answer this?
Yes, Prabhuji. So I think it's because Arjuna is Shastriya, so that's his duty, that's his dira. So it's okay for him. Wherein for us, it's not our duty, it's not part of our duty, it's not part of our religion. I think one of the example that you did, one of the statement that you gave in verse 219 was Arjuna is asked to kill on principle of religion. So I think that is one of the reason I would give someone if they ask.
Excellent. Absolutely to the point and fully correct. Thank you very much. Okay, so Sharadi Mataji, you had a no. Okay. Okay, so thank you very much for all the prep and the question answers. And again, my ask would be to answer questions based on what is written in the Gita and the purport, and basically explained in the lectures. So one of the things in the Bhakti Shastri is to train ourselves to speak based on authority, right? Because otherwise our conception is as good or as bad as anybody else's conception. So we are as fallible as anybody else. What makes it worthwhile is if you are able to quote based on authorities that are infallible, right? So part of Bhakti Shastri is training ourselves to be like that. Okay, over to you, Rupranath Prabhu.
Sure, Prabhuji. We are dot on time for our segment 3, which is group presentation. And today we are going to go in the reverse order. So I would request group 6 to start their presentation, please, for next 5 minutes.
No, I didn't do it. Try again. Do you see my screen?
Yes, Mataji, we can see your screen. Go ahead.
Okay, Hare Krishna devotees, all glories to Prabhupada. So today's Team 6 assignment is, let me do it slideshow so that, okay, so what is duty and how does doing it help in making spiritual progress? What is living entities, dharma and duty? Sanskrit term for duty is swadharma. Bhagavad Gita begins with dharma and ends with dharma. According to Vedic civilization, everyone has their own swadharma. Swadharma means the occupation of the soul. I'm not this body, I'm soul. That is real swadharma. The occupation of the soul is to be engaged in the service of the Lord. Lord Krishna is the master and we are his servants, and our duty is to serve him with love and respect. At bodily level, Swadharma means Varna Ashram Dharma. Varna and Ashram means to four castes: Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Sudra, and four spiritual orders: Brahmachari, Grasta, Vanprasth, and Sannyas. In the bodily concept, Arjuna is primarily a warrior, and his duty as per his social role is being Kshatriya. Krishna helps him realize that his duty as a Kshatriya is not just about fighting for victory or personal gain. Instead, it is about fulfilling his duty as per his Swadharma. Karma as per dharma gives you knowledge or jnana, which will lead to liberation or moksha. Srila Prabhupada emphasized on understanding one's duty according to their role in society, supported by dharma. Lord Krishna explains to Arjuna that being a Kshatriya, he must fight in the battle of Kurukshetra. Neglecting his duty would be abandoning righteousness and encouraging adharma. Performing one's duty selflessly with devotion to Krishna will lead to liberation when performed without any attachment. Perform your duty with the Dhira. Dhira is a sober and steady person who stays steady under all circumstances and understands that external experiences are only the result of engagement of the senses with sense objects, which are temporary. We should perform our duty by controlling our senses and could not get disturbed by temporary happiness or distress. Also, we need to perform our duty with humility and gratitude. Otherwise, it will bring infamy. Through consistent practice of performing our duty based on dharma, we can gradually purify our heart and mind and grow spiritually. Performing one's duty is important even if it causes discomfort or pain. One should execute their duty regardless of any circumstances.
Nishkam karma. Nishkam karma, a selfless action performed without any attachment to result, which is another important teaching of the Bhagavad Gita. It suggests that by focusing on the action itself rather than the outcome, one can attain spiritual growth and liberation. Bhagavad Gita teaches us to perform our prescribed duties but not be entitled to the fruits of our actions. On a spiritual platform, devotees should always engage in service to Krishna and his devotees with humility and without any attachment to the reward or recognition. Practical applications: serve everyone in the mood of being servant of Krishna and his devotees. Perform your duties with the intention of devotional service both at work and at home. Gradually, by cultivating mindset of selflessness and detachment, we can progress in our spiritual journey. Real life examples of selfless service. In modern society, people who have occupations such as nurse, doctor, firefighter, paramedic, police officer often prioritize the well-being and comfort of patients and civilians over their own needs and desires. They face high level of stress, danger on a daily basis to serve others. They put in long hours, sacrifice their time when needed, and work irrespective of the situations they are in. This act of duty requires selflessness, humility, compassion, and detachment, which are essential for spiritual growth. However, if we don't perform our duty with devotion to Krishna and don't develop loving relationship with him, then it is mere waste of time. Hare Krishna, thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you for being on time, Mataji.
Right.
Prabhuji, you have a comment?
Ajay Singh, very good. Excellent presentation. Thank you.
Okay, group 5 for your debater skit.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, please assume my humble observance. All goes to Srila Prabhupada. Thank you so much. So we have prepared a skit, and the scene is early in the morning. People are gathering at a park where they are doing the laughter yoga. And next slide, please. And there is one devotee, and there are 4 people who are asking questions. Romit Prabhu. Manchu Prabhu, please ask the question.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. Can I move to next slide? I am not able to see the slide where the question is there. Okay.
Question is
If I know that I am not the body, but the eternal spirit soul, am I self-realized? You can answer, Prabhu.
Romit Prabhu.
I think his voice is not audible.
Yeah.
Okay.
Maybe somebody
technology
else in the
glitch.
team can pick up the
Yes.
answer part.
Sorry, I was speaking on mute. Apologies for that. Let me reshare my screen. I believe it's clear. All right. Let me answer to the question that if I know that I am not the body but the eternal spirit soul, am I self-realized? The answer is to know that we are not the body but the spirit soul is an important step towards self-realization. Self-realization is to know the real purpose of life, act accordingly, and perfect the mission of human life. It involves a deep understanding of our true nature, which is beyond physical and mental limitations.
Okay, I know that I am self-realized because I know myself. And once I leave this body, I will get liberated and merge into the impersonal Brahman. And my individuality will also be lost. Is that correct?
You are partially correct, Prabhuji. We are part and parcel of the Supreme Lord. Therefore, we have all the qualities of the Supreme Lord, though in minute quantity. We are in this body due to our past karmas and our desire to enjoy. People who are led by the material conception of life do not know that aim of life is realization of the absolute truth, and they are captivated by external feature of the material world. And therefore, they do not know what liberation is. Let me tell you, there are 4 important understandings from Bhagavad Gita regarding the soul and regarding Krishna. Firstly, the soul is eternal, and soul is distinct and individual. Secondly, Krishna is an individual and forever distinct. Thirdly, Krishna, though appear in human form, but he is always Supreme God. And lastly, he is never conditioned, never illusioned. Therefore, his statements are authoritative.
Okay, Prabhu, I know that I am not the body but eternal spirit soul. So if I extend this axiom to others, all other living entities are also eternal soul. So if I kill soldiers on the battlefield and I kill animals for satisfying my tongue, what's wrong in that? I am only helping in their emancipation.
Prabhu, you are partially correct. You are a spirit soul. However, that does not mean that you have the license to kill. You kill the soldiers with the intention to protect your country, which is your prescribed duty. That is dharma. However, your killing of the animals with the intention of satisfying your tongue is against the prescribed duties, dharma. Every soul has got a body by his own karma, and we have no right to kill something that we have not created.
Thank you so much, Prabhu, for clarifying that. But can you answer one last question? How can we get reinstated to our own constitutional position?
Yes, Prabhu. So unless the senses are controlled and unless we are doing our karma as per dharma, there is no chance of elevation to the spiritual platform of knowledge, that is jnana. And from jnana comes vairagya, from vairagya comes devotion and liberation, moksha. So every living entity in this material world has come for sense gratification. But one cannot be happy by doing sense gratification under the spell of Maya. Just like a fish cannot be happy when it is out of water. As long as we are serving Maya, we cannot be happy, we cannot be self-realized. A self-realized soul will always work on the spiritual platform, even if the soul is entangled in this material world. So I am not this body. Knowing this is not enough. We need to act accordingly. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Jai.
Guru Maharaj ki jai.
Jai.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Okay, nice presentation. Thank you, Group 5. Over to Group 4.
Hare Krishna. Our topic is, why is accepting the soul critical to understanding Bhagavad Gita? Before we begin, as a side note, I listed each verse at every point we're making, but just for the sake of time, I'm not going to go like too much into detail for each of the verse. Next slide, please. Okay, what is Bhagavad Gita talking about? First of all, it's talking about transcendental knowledge, which is knowledge beyond the bodily and material platform. It's knowledge that states that we are not this body, we are the spirit soul. It's necessary for all human beings, but many people neglect it. In verse 7, chapter 2, Arjuna says that he's lost all composure because of miserly weakness. Miserly because one who is attached to his body and the bodily relations such as family, community, society are called miserly because they waste their heart to obtain very valuable human form without the pursuit of transcendental knowledge. In order to understand the soul, we have to understand how it differs from the material body. Next slide. No matter what form you get, the body is always temporary. Now, even if it's an animal form or a human form, or even if you have a form like Indra, it's always temporary. And the body is always destructible. In 2.18, Krishna says that the body is sure to come to an end. And in 2.11, he says that you're mourning for what is not worthy of grief. Those who are wise lament neither for the living nor for the dead. In verse 13, another feature of the body is that it is constantly changing from boyhood to youth to old age. And possibly the most important feature is that attachment to body and bodily relations bring fear and lamentation. Arjun was put under a condition that Krishna calls the petty weakness of heart, where he was overly attached to the bodies of his cousins and his brothers and his father and teacher. But the body is not the self and it's destined to die, so why would there be reason to be attached, and why would there be any reason to lament? Next slide.
This one, Mataji?
Yeah, that one. Yeah. Okay, so now that we discussed the nature of the body, now we have to contrast the nature of the soul. In other authoritative scriptures like Brahma Samhita, the first verse begins with Ishwara Paramakrishna Sachit Ananda Vigraha. Sat refers to the eternity feature, Chit means full of knowledge, and Ananda is full of bliss. In verse 20, both Anu Atma, the minute particle soul, and Vibhu Atma, the super soul, share this in common. But Bhagavad Gita goes more into detail.
Should I take over, Mataji?
Yes.
Okay. Nature of the soul. So nature of the soul is permanent here. Nature of the soul is permanent. It reiterated multiple times by Krishna. He is everlasting, indestructible, cannot be injured in any way or by any weapon.
unchanging, of the eternal, the soul, there is no change, invisible to material eyes. We cannot test for this fact, only Krishna's word in the Vedas is proof. Attachment brings happiness. Grief and fear of losing the body is dispelled once spiritual identity is established. Jiva comes to understand Krishna as friend and master of everyone, beginning of spiritual life. Most important distinction, body is equal to material and soul is equal to spiritual. Our bodies are made of matter and will eventually perish, but eternal spirit souls are part and parcel of Krishna. This is a summary of body versus soul, as we discussed. Alarka Mataji shared and I shared a slide. Material, body is material, soul is spiritual. Body is destructible, soul is indestructible. Temporary versus permanent, soul. Constantly changing, body is always changing and soul is not changing. Body is visible and soul is invisible to material eyes. Body attachment brings lamentation and soul attachment brings happiness.
Yeah, Divya Mataji, last 60 seconds, please.
Alarka Mataji, you are taking this slide or you want me to cover? You are on mute.
Oh, sorry. So why is this knowledge necessary? The body, once again, the body is temporary, so there's no use lamenting the changing of a dress, like in verse 28. And the world is full of misery, so one must learn to tolerate the non-permanent appearance of happiness and distress in the material world. Next slide, please. So how can we receive this knowledge? As we learn Satchit Ananda, the living entity is already chit, full of knowledge. Arjun was put in a position as a forgetful soul deluded by Maya so that we can hear this message. It is due to forgetfulness of our spiritual identity that this knowledge is covered. Everyone is liable to receive this message. So the next step that we have to do is to reestablish our relationship with Krishna. Next slide. Our final goal is to just do what Arjun did, just surrender unto Krishna. In verse 7, he says, "Now I am your disciple, a soul surrender unto you. Please instruct me." Next slide. This is a summary of the main points. So to answer the question in short, why is understanding the soul critical to understanding Bhagavad Gita? It's the most important first point. If you miss that point, if you don't understand the soul, you can't understand the rest of the Bhagavad Gita. It's like the founding principle. Thank you, Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Hare Krishna. Over to group 3 for their debate.
Hare Krishna. Please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Guru Maharaj and Srila Prabhupada. So our group is talking about, am I audible?
Yes.
Our group is talking about the soul is personal versus impersonal. So this plot is, it's between an argument between, or more like a discussion between an impersonalist and a devotee. So devotee is Her Grace Saubhagyavati Tungavidya Mataji, and impersonalist is me, Chaitanya Rasadas. Over to you, Mataji. So it starts with God and the Jiva do not have a form. It's all energy. The energy takes the temporary form, and at the time of death, the energy goes back where it came from. Isn't it?
Yeah, the Lord and the Jiva have a form as it is stated in the 7th chapter, 24th verse. Unintelligent men who do not know me perfectly think that the Supreme Personality of Godhead Krishna, was impersonal before and have now assumed this personality. Due to their small fund of knowledge, they do not know my nature, which is imperishable and supreme. It is also very evident in the 12th text of chapter 2 that Krishna and Jiva are separate and both have a personal form.
In Bhagavad Gita, God showed his Virat Roop, which is a form of energy. That is why both God and Jiva, who is originating from God, is also impersonal.
Krishna gave special set of eyes to Arjuna to see the Virat Rupa. And also that form of Lord was shown to Arjuna for a very short time. The path of personalism is favored since it gives the direct understanding of the full transcendental sweetness belonging exclusively to the Supreme Lord. The ultimate objective is bhakti, love and devotion. It is difficult to love someone you think that is not even a person. Also, Krishna uses Mam in entire Bhagavad Gita. The speaker does not refer to God as different person. He repeatedly uses the word Mam, which translates to me or unto me. In the battlefield, Krishna speaks these words to Arjuna, and if God was incorporeal, he would have told Arjuna to worship the God inside of himself.
God is energy that exists everywhere, does not need to be worshipped in any particular form.
As it is stated in the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna has a personal form and at the same time he is all pervading, although his personal abode is Goloka Vrindavan. By his plenary expansions, he is present everywhere in the transcendental form. As Jiva is qualitatively one with God, he also has a form.
God is form of light, Brahmajyoti. All the living entities are separated from the whole energy because they are influenced by the illusion. When the illusion is gone, the living entities merge into the supreme energy, isn't it?
Krishna appeared in two-handed form. How can the physical form manifest from something impersonal? This is explained in the 7th chapter of 24th verse of Bhagavad Gita. And if we are part of God and we can merge into God, then why is there ignorance in this world? And how can a part of God be influenced by illusion? In the verse 13th shloka of 2nd chapter, Prabhupada mentions that the body is continuously changing, but the soul is not changing. Krishna is instructing Arjuna not to lament for the loss of his family members like Bhishma and others like Drona. At the death, the same soul takes to another body. Death is simply a continuation of change of body. If we keep talking about the change of physical body, then there is no question of jiva being impersonal.
Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhu and Mataji. Wonderful debate. Group 2.
Hare Krishna, thank you. While both God and Jiva have similarities, for example, God and Jiva are both eternal and they are distinct, I'm going to say that they are not, Jiva is not God. Because verse 2:12 says, the maintainer, Lord is eternally the maintainer of the individual living entities, both in their conditioned and their liberated situation. I see 2 points here. First point being that God is the maintainer of the living entities, and the second point that jivas or souls are conditioned and liberated beings. Another verse in another sentence in the same verse says that Krishna is authoritative because Krishna cannot be subject to illusion, which I'm extrapolating to mean that Krishna is not conditioned, which means God is not conditioned. And finally, one more line in the same verse, he is accepted as
Little bit louder, Mataji, on the, yeah.
Oh, sorry. He is accepted as an ordinary conditioned soul, an individual consciousness, then his Bhagavad Gita has no value as authoritative scripture, which to me means that Krishna, God, is not conditioned, whereas Jiva is. I'm going to pass this on to the other members of the group. Thank you.
So I think because the soul or jiva and the God or Krishna or super soul Paramatma, normally it looks similar and at the same time it's different. So that's where there is mostly the confusion. There are similarities between jiva and God is that both are unborn, eternal, ever existing, and primeval, is explained in Bhagavad Gita 2.21. Furthermore, Jiva, it cannot be cut to pieces by any weapons, nor can be burned by fire, nor can be moistened by water, nor withered by wind. Again, is explanation given in Bhagavad Gita 2.23.
But however, qualitatively, also both Jiva and Krishna are the same, Bhagavad Gita 2.20. And soul is invincible, inconceivable, and immutable, Bhagavad Gita 2.25. Now, there are still differences between Jiva, so that Jiva should not think that Jiva is Krishna, meaning qualitatively limited. Jiva is qualitatively limited. Bhagavad Gita 2.2 and 2.20 talks about that, while as Krishna is qualitatively unlimited. The same verses, two verses, Bhagavad Gita 2.2 and 2.20. Now, Jiva is person and it's Bhagavad Gita 2.2, whereas Krishna is all pervading, he is localized, he is all pervading as a Brahman, he is localized as Paramatma, and as a person he is Bhagavan. So the complete understanding is the understanding of all the three aspects of the Lord is the real complete understanding. Now, Jiva is a part and parcel of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Bhagavad Gita 2.16. Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead himself. Bhagavad Gita 2.16. Again, there is no difference between energy and energetic, normally said, but Jivas are the energy, 2.16, and the energetic is Krishna, 2.16. Now, where does Mayavad philosophy and where does it go wrong? Normally, people have understanding that you do anything good to the society, you just get some capacity, and then you become God. People say, oh, I'm doing so much good to my children, I am God for my children. Now, Prabhupada in the purport 2.2, he says that only God has all the qualities in fullness. So maybe we have some riches, some strength, some fame, all beauty and all knowledge, knowledge and renunciation, but only Krishna can possess all that in fullness. And it is also explained in the introduction, and this definition of God is given by Parasar Muni. Now, Jiva becomes one with the God. That is another misconception. Because Jiva cannot be cut into pieces. So it cannot be united again or merged in God, as that will change the unchangeable, because God, nature of the God. If God changes, then new God comes. So there is no anything that is unchanging is God. So it's not God. Bhagavad Gita 2.13. Jiva loses its identity. Now, when Jiva loses,
Last
that's
20
another
seconds,
Mayavad
Prabhuji.
philosophy.
Last 20 seconds, please.
Okay, last. So I will transfer it to another member who could elaborate more. Sundar Prabhuji.
No, we cannot hear you, Prabhuji. It's that funny sound that you get.
How about now?
Yes. And Prabhuji, if you can wrap it up in like 60 seconds, that would be helpful.
No, it's okay. I think with the 20 seconds you had, you said we had left already, the presentation should already be concluded. It was already quite thorough. So thank you.
Sure. Perfect. Thank you so much. I think, yeah, we are running out of time. So let's move to group 1. Thank you so much. Group 2. Yeah, group 1, please.
Hare Krishna, Shailisha.
Hare Krishna. I think I have difficulty. Gopinath Prabhu, can you share it?
Maybe I will share. Yeah. Hare Krishna. Everyone can able to see my screen?
Yes. Yeah.
Yes.
Hare Krishna. This is like we are trying to have a conversation between two of us about the topic is right and wrong way to take shelter of Guru. So next slide, please. Yeah. Next slide.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah. Hare Krishna Prabhu, how are you? You seem a bit off today. Is everything all right?
Not sure. I'm feeling a bit confused and indecisive.
Oh, don't you worry, Prabhu. You're not alone. What's going on in your mind?
I hope you remember my uncle who has been carrying and guiding us since my childhood. Lately, I noticed he deeply involved in gambling and it is troubling me.
Oh, no. That's surprising to hear and in fact shocking. I know he's highly respected in your family.
Exactly. But now he is trying to convince me and our cousins to join him to making a quick money through gambling. I know it is a not right path. but it's hard to reject him because of his seniority.
I understand why you are feeling this way. But remember, in Bhagavad Gita, Srila Prabhupada emphasizes that anyone who is sinful cannot be accepted as a superior. It is not just about their position, their conduct matters too.
But it is not easy to reject someone who has been like a father figure to us and shown us much affection all along.
Again, let me draw some examples from Srila Prabhupada's purport to shed light on this. Take, for instance, Prahlad Maharaj, who glorified Nrsimhadev despite Hiranyakashipu being his own father and first guru. Similarly, we have Bhishma Dev and Dronacharya. Bhishma Deva, though affectionate towards Pandavas, ultimately failed to stand for dharma, indicating a flaw in his role as a guru. Similarly, Dronacharya, who has compromised his principles due to his financial dependence, which led him astray from dharma. So, despite being gurus, these examples show that the position alone does not ensure superiority, Prabhu. Indeed, they held the position of gurus. Yet Krishna indirectly signaled to Arjuna that despite their status, they could be rejected. Karya karyam ajanataha.
Yeah, I understand now. Regardless of their title and age, it is their action that defines their role as a guru.
Exactly. So, by rejecting such a person, you open yourself up to the possibility of accepting a genuine bona fide guru. This is the instruction of the scriptures.
Yeah, I think I'm starting to understand. But how to identify a bona fide guru? I know many sadhus who are highly knowledgeable and well versed in scripture. I'm drawn to their ideas and opinion.
Of course, Prabhu, I appreciate your eagerness to seek guidance from learned individuals. However, it is important to not just follow someone who has theoretical knowledge but lacks practical application. Just like reading multiple books on medicine doesn't make one a doctor. True mastery requires undergoing authoritative training and practice. In our material existence, we are prone to 4 defects. We make mistakes, we are often deluded, we have a tendency to deceive, and our senses are highly imperfect. Knowledge acquired from someone plagued by these defects cannot be considered perfect. Therefore, it is very crucial to seek knowledge from someone who transcends these limitations, as that is the genuine wisdom.
Yeah, then what is the best process of receiving the knowledge? How can we identify such a person?
Yeah, the best process for receiving knowledge is to seek it from a perfect person who has surrendered to and accepted Lord Krishna as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, as Krishnastu Bhagavan Swayam. This person should have a clear understanding of the message from the Lord, practice it sincerely, act upon it, and preach it without any contamination and adulteration. Srila Prabhupada emphasizes that a guru should provide evidence from scriptures, not just offer its own personal opinions or inventions. In Bhagavad Gita 16:23, Yashastra vidim ushrishya vartate kama karataha. Anyone who disregards scriptural injunctions and act according to his own whims attain neither perfection nor happiness nor the supreme destination.
I'm really deeply grateful for your guidance. So, if I understood correctly, one should have a living spiritual guru who can lead disciple along the perfect path towards the liberation and assist them in overcoming the obstacles and profound understanding and insight. Is that what you mean to convey?
Amazing. You have grasped it perfectly, Prabhu. This is precisely what Srila Prabhupada emphasizes regarding taking the shelter in a guru. Now that your indecisiveness have dissolved, let's come together and pray to Krishna. He will manifest himself to the spiritual master in accordance with the desires of our hearts. Hare Krishna, thank you.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu, thank you.
Hare Krishna, thank you. Over to you, Bhayahari Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna. So thank you all for putting together these wonderful presentations. I appreciate the fact that there is a lot more references to either the verses or the purports And like I mentioned, that's what we want to train ourselves to speak based on Guru Sadhu and Shastra, and the contents are enlightening. So thank you for that. So we'll just, I think, now set the stage for the next week's verses, etc. Prabhu, Rupranath Prabhu, you have a slide for that, or
Yes, Prabhuji, we have the slide, but before we talk about next week, I also wanted to flash the results from the last week's poll for the group presentation. So here it is, Prabhuji.
Okay, all glories to group 4. I do not believe in God. So great work. And of course, everybody else also did an excellent job. One of the things I'm also probably going to recommend is that I think once the group is clear about what they want to, I think they have a theoretical understanding of what they want to present. The group leader can put it to Rup Raghunath Prabhu or me or Indulekha to just verify that they're on the right track, right? So that way we have a general understanding that there is some synchronicity between what the group perceives that they're getting and presenting. And part of it is really speaking my fault, because some of the topics that I put in my mind, I may have a clear understanding because I have the context, but I may not be communicating it clearer. So before you go ahead and invest a lot of time and develop a presentation, I think one of the checkpoints would be just have the group leader put it in the group leader group, make sure that everything is copacetic, and then once you get that, then you can move to actually establishing whatever the presentation mode is. Okay, thank you, Prabhu. Over to you.
Yeah, so I think next Wednesday, May 15th, the topic is going to be chapter 2, verses from 22nd to 38. There is no group exercise for next week, but Prabhuji will be giving a presentation on the topic of karma. So that's for next Wednesday. And for the subsequent week, we will have rest of the chapter for chapter 2, covering remaining verses. And there'll be a group presentation, just like we did today. And I'll post this in the chat also, so that you get 2 weeks to present this time. Prabhuji, anything you want to add?
I think May 22 is no class, right? There is Narsingh Chaturdashi, I think.
Yes, Prabhu. Narsingh Chaturdashi. Yes.
Okay. So this is 29, and I think also so you essentially have a couple of weeks to do the presentation. So the topics are a little bit more difficult, so that you have more you have more time, and
so they'll have 3 weeks of time then.
Yeah,
you'll have 3 weeks of time. And I think just in terms of the presentation, it'll be good to keep the slides short. I mean, I think that's general presentation, right? We don't make the slides dense. They're just talking points. And
just don't put in too much information into one slide and make it unreadable also for others. Just jot down just the main points. You don't have to put in so much information in there. That's my two.
And perhaps there's a typo between group 5 and group 6, because the references should be different. Let me check it. Maybe it's a typo on my part, and then we'll post it. We'll post it again. Okay, so we'll end over here. Thank you very much for an enlightening and fun association.
Thank you.
Patitanam pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo namo namaha.
Anantpuri Vaishnavind ki
Jai.
Srila Prabhupada
Prabhupada ki
Jai.
Hare Gaur Prabhu. Hare.
Hare
Hare Hare
Krishna.
Prabhu. Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you,
Krishna
Prabhuji.
Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna,
Pranam
Prabhuji. Hare
Prabhuji.
Krishna.